Hey guys, it's time for my January wrap-up part 2. I'll start with the books that I've got physical copies of and then go on to the ones that I read via Audible. As I'm sure you're all aware, it took me a very long time to read The Au Pair by Emma Rous. When I started reading this book, it's very chunky and I just didn't find the time to invest a lot of energy into it, and I just kept putting it down and picking it back up. It was very slow paced and there was just nothing really making me want to pick it back up, so I think that's why it took me so long. But let me start from the beginning. So this book opens with this character called Seraphine, and she has just lost her dad in this tragic accident. She's going through his stuff, she's grieving, and she comes across this photograph of the day she was born, and in the photograph her mum and dad are holding a baby, but she doesn't know why there aren't two babies in the picture because she's a twin, so why aren't their two babies? This really starts causing some confusion for her. She starts going through a lot of turmoil and has this whole identity crisis because her whole life she's been riddled with this doubt that perhaps she's not really one of her family members. She doesn't look anything like them. There's all these like funny, strange myths about fairies and folklore stuff about how her family can never keep twins and they're cursed. So it's quite mystical and mysterious, and it's got quite a gothic theme to it. So Seraphine starts to investigate her mother's death all those years ago, because the day that she was born her mother actually committed suicide by jumping off of the cliffs, and she wants to figure out why, because in this photograph of her with the one baby she looks pretty damn happy. So what could have happened in the space of a couple of hours to make her end her own life? And it's interesting. While I haven't read any Agatha Christie, I have heard that this book is very akin to her books. I found it to be a very mild thriller. It was very eerie, but just so slow paced. It had a very ominous atmosphere, and I think I would call it more of like a family mystery rather than a thriller, because it doesn't freak you out. It doesn't give you that spook or that suspense that you're really after from a proper thriller. There's a lot about this book that I do normally enjoy in other books, such as the alternating perspectives. We've got the present day, and then we've got like chapters from 1991 where we're following the au pair who was looking after the children at the time of their mother's death, and that's very interesting, and I really did enjoy that kind of balance between the two kind of time zones. Another thing I really enjoyed about it was that every character was perfectly woven into the story. Every character had a purpose, so there wasn't that just stupid filler that so many books have these days. Like, a lot of thick books seem to have so many characters and chapters and subplots that really aren't fucking necessary, and this one didn't. Everything was very cleverly constructed and had a reason for being in the book, which I really enjoyed. Another thing that I really liked is that there's a couple of twists in it, so even if you do figure out one of the big twists, there's still a couple more that you might have missed, and I really like that, because I'd figured out one thing, but a couple of others I was like, oh wow. I think it just makes the book a real page turner. The reason I decided to give this book only a 3 stars on Goodreads is because I don't like it when I'm left wondering more questions in books. I need answers. I feel like I need to like hammer on Emma Rous' window or door and demand an explanation for a couple of things. It needed to be more rounded up for me. Like, I don't know, it kind of frustrated me a bit, so unless there's like a sequel or something going on, which I doubt it because I don't think it's a strong enough book for a sequel, then I think we're just going to be left wondering what the fuck. So it says it's the biggest debut of 2019, and I really disagree. Sorry. The next book I'm going to talk to you about is from a podcasting friend of mine called Jules Hannaford. Her book is called Fool Me Twice: Confessions of a Perpetual Internet Dating Neophyte. And I was really excited to read this book because I've dabbled in internet dating a lot. It's why I'm in Australia. I met my partner from Tinder. But as I mentioned in one of my previous videos, there are some horrific things that come from internet dating, and you really need to be very fucking careful about the things you subject yourself to in life. So the start of this book is quite slow paced, the first few chapters, as it recounts Hannaford's childhood of growing up in rural Australia and what that's like, and it's very reminiscent and beautifully done with incredible descriptions. It's incredibly atmospheric. Usually I'm not really into that kind of a beginning. I like it to really chuck me right in and get me hooked, but because I'd never read anything by Jules Hannaford before and I didn't really know her that well besides from the podcasting world, it was actually a really nice way to get to know her before I invested myself into her full story. This is nothing short of a harrowing story, full of self-discovery and growth. It's about accepting your major shortcomings and your big mistakes. It's a book that really kind of resonated with me because Hannaford, it's a memoir, and she's so ambitious and desperate to find love that it blinds her from seeing major warning signs right in front of her, and it's scary. And you know, I've been in her situation before myself. This book made me angry, frustrated, scared, mortified. It's intense. Honestly, my heart was hammering throughout this book, and I highly recommend it. I really commend the author for giving us such a personal story and for being so vulnerable with it. I mean, it can't be easy because a lot of people are obviously going to ridicule her or judge her for her naivety and the things she got scammed on and the things that happened to her and the domestic abuse that she suffered and didn't get out of soon enough. But those that haven't been in that situation won't understand what it's like, and I've been in those situations, so I do understand, and I think that's why this book really hit home for me. Honestly, this book just really drills in how careful we need to be. She's such a skilled storyteller, so courageous and brave. And to top it all off, in the back of the book, she gives us lists of things like warning signs we could look out for if we're internet dating, and things you should do if you're meeting someone, and how to investigate them, and the red flags you look out for. Like, she's really taken her time to help others who may be pursuing love online, and that's wonderful of her. And I really, really think everyone should read this book because whew, my heart was just gone with this. Which brings me on to Calm the Fuck Down by Sarah Knight, because I needed to calm the fuck down after that. It's really no secret that I've been going through a bit of problems with my mental health and my anxiety and stuff lately, so I really felt like Calm the Fuck Down was a good book for me to read as I got onto new anti-anxiety medication and just tried to take the reins on my life again. I found it to be a really refreshing book, very truthful. To me, it was far less arrogant or cocky than that of something like Rachel Hollis's Girl Wash Your Face, which, I'm sorry, I just wish that I'd known that that was a bit more Christian based. I don't have anything against religion, but I just wasn't in the mood for Christianity right then, and someone shoving the cross down my throat. I really found a connection with this book, and not just from the blasphemous title either. While it wasn't exactly groundbreaking, it was enjoyable and insightful. I then downloaded Tiny Beautiful Things by Cheryl Strayed, who wrote Wild, which is one of my favourite books. And guys, on Audible, I listened to this while on a road trip to go camping with Mark, and I am so glad that he drove because I bawled my eyes out. Like full on messy, ugly tears. Cheryl Strayed was formerly known as Sugar, this advice columnist, and people would write into her asking for a range of advice, whether it be they are going through a divorce, they've lost a child, they're coming out of the closet, something, and she offers them the most down-to-earth, practical, soft but straightforward advice I think I have ever come across in my life. Cheryl Strayed is brutally honest but sensitive. She's raw but gentle. She's just done it so well and so perfectly that I I was speechless. Like, I find it really hard to say anything, but this is a 5-star book, and it's also an incredibly personal story, and the stories she offers from her own life are gut-wrenching, heartbreaking, debilitating, but she manages to show them in a way that gets people to really understand things, no matter what you're going through. And I think she's such a smart woman. Even though some of the letters, obviously, I don't understand what it's like to come out of the closet or to lose a husband or anything like that. Like, yeah, I've had a partner pass away, but that's nothing compared to some of these women and what they go through. I was still, I think there was just so much emotion. It was so emotionally charged that I felt everything for everyone that wrote in, and it just spoke to me so much. It tore me apart, but also it's just so inspiring because she really does I think the main message is that no matter what you've been through and no matter how hurt you are, you need to move on. You need to live your life and make it a good one, because we've only got one life. And it's so true. It's so simple but so true. And the last book that I just finished was The House of Second Chances by Esther Campion? That one. I'm not a romance reader, so this was a bit strange for me, but I decided to try and get into a romance mood considering Valentine's Day is coming up. I find nothing riveting about romance books. I don't enjoy the cliches and the way they describe eyes and feelings and emotions and everything the same. Like, there's nothing new in the genre, which boils my blood. Like, at least thrillers try and be unique. Whereas, I mean, come on, how many romance stories can you read before you know what's going to fucking happen? There's a lot about it that was enjoyable. So it's Australian/Irish themed, which was really nice, and it made the dialogue quite interesting because some of them are Irish and some of them Australian, and it was a nice mix between the two countries, and I love both countries. I live in Australia, I have Irish heritage, and that I liked. But it's this woman called Colette who's an interior designer, and she starts interior designing for this builder called Aidan, whose sister actually suggested her, and Aidan is being a stubborn ass. He doesn't understand her interior design skills and thinks she's full of crap, basically, and she's trying to prove her point and show her guns, and then obviously they kind of fall for each other. But amidst all this, there's all this shit happening, and there's a whole bunch of other characters too that are in the mix. There's too many characters, which bugged me because I didn't know. Like, Aidan and Colette I got, and then Shane is this. So Colette's uncle John was Shane's. No, see, I'm already confused. So Colette's boss or partner John is Shane's uncle, who goes to work for Colette, and he had a friend called Alex who got crushed on the train tracks. He then starts dating some Spaniard chick who isn't very nice to him, and there's this other chick called Jane who Aidan used to be with, and she's got a daughter called Millie who goes missing, and there's a whole bunch of people on the swimming team, and Colette's sister's called Grace, and there's like Ellen, and there's Jerry, and there's Louise, and have you kept up yet? Because I have not. I still don't understand who half these people are, and I finished the book today. That was my wrap up. I'm hoping that February I can read a few more nicer books that get me through the month in a nice way, and I've got something a bit more enjoyable to talk about next time. I mean, some of them were great. I think the book of the month, what would the book of the month be? You know, I am going to probably surprise everyone here and say the book of the month for me in January was Educated by Tara Westover, which was featured in my January wrap-up part 1. That is an amazing non-fiction book, and if you want to hear more about it, you can go on to the January part 1 wrap-up, which I'll leave in the description box down below. Really good book. And then the second one, Eggshell Skull by Bree Lee. So funnily enough, 2 non-fiction books are my 2 favourite picks of January. I'm quite excited to see what February holds now. Anyway, I hope you're all well, and let me know what your favourite book of January was. See you later, guys. Bye!